Ori Randomizer Tournament 2018. I am Gecko and I am joined with Roos SR
Good
and
afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You? Do you want to tell us about one of our races today?
Absolutely. So we've got another race in our singles bracket, which means this is going to be the clues format. This is the last remaining singles of the day. We've got Richard versus Lake. Why don't you introduce one of our runners?
Yep. Okay, so Lake is back here again. He was actually playing yesterday. He was doing his doubles game. So he's already got one of his matches down for this week, and this is his second race. If you want to introduce the other one to us.
Yeah, on the other hand, we've got Richard. Richard is a pretty experienced runner. He's been around Ori for a long time, but has only very recently adopted the randomizer. I have seen him play quite a bit, though. So it'll be interesting to see just how much work he's been able to put in the short time he's been running and how that's going to pay off today.
Yep. So it should be a fun race to look at, I think.
Looks like the SRL race has just gotten started, so the race should be underway shortly. As always, the commentators love to play our favorite game, which is what is the first pickup going to be? So what do you think, Gecko?
I'm just gonna go with boring Keystone for once.
I'm shooting for the moon. I'm saying charge jump.
It'll be a good start, I think.
I love charge jump starts for seeds. They just really, really flow nicely.
It's really convenient as well because you can clear out quite efficiently in some areas, just leaving the area blank, and you can never have to go back there.
Just a keystone, though, so no skill progression so far. Generally, keystone indicates you're probably going to be heading over to the left side towards wall jump. Nothing too surprising here, but there's always potential for those pickups to lead us somewhere else as we get them. You're going to see our runners grab one more pickup here, and then they'll get sign, which is, of course, a required pickup. Ooh, that's spicy.
It's
So
quite
what did
an
we just
interesting
grab?
game. Oh yeah, so double jump at the beginning of a seed. It's quite interesting to see quite early because it just gives you that nice bit of extra verticality that you don't normally see until later on in the seed.
What I find especially interesting about this is double jump with no wall interaction opens up some pretty serious opportunities for sequence breaks, because if you have the execution to pull it off, there's some very fast hops you can do off a wall and back on, and you can sort of shimmy your way up walls even though you don't have any wall interaction yet. So if either of these runners are confident in doing that, they actually have access to a lot of pickups that the logic doesn't expect them to. But if they aren't comfortable, they're just going to kind of have to follow along with the logic anyway. So we'll see if anybody plans to do those.
Yeah, and we do see that second keystone, so they do have the option to go straight into the left side of Clades here, unless they get some more interaction, or unless, you know, they do what you were saying earlier, and they go into BRB with just double jump, which I can imagine being quite painful.
All right, so they're both attempting to check the fake flippers pickup here. It is an energy cell, as you can see from Richard. Looks like Richard's going to opt to try and get it. So if you swim down there very quickly, you can actually Alt-R and keep the pickup right before you take your third bit of damage, which Richard opted to do. So he's now got 2 energy, but he has to walk back a little bit. So he's banking on the time saved from having that extra energy being worth the extra walking distance. Lake, on the other hand, decided to just go ahead and skip it. So we'll see which of those decisions pays off here.
Yeah, does opt to get that extra bit of energy, a bit of health from that health plant on his way back. So
probably a pretty smart decision, especially because he's so low on energy. He can't really afford safety saves. Richard will be able to take a few more with his extra energy cell that he's kept.
Yeah, it's nice to also get a map stone before you have to come down here. It's just you don't have to then double back for this map stone at any point. You can just pick it up and then just pretty much forget about it. But
yeah, it's just a little bit of peace of mind. It is a bit of a quirk of the logic that it likes to put a map stone on this keystone to the right of it. So even if you don't have one, a lot of times checking over here is worth it anyway. But not guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, I think from Richard getting that one thorn in the middle of there. Yeah, it's nice to have a map stone though, because like I know quite a few runners have adopted just to going straight over to this area above wall jump straight away, so they don't have to worry about if there's a keystone, a map stone there or not. And if they get one over here, then it's quite a quick, fast
Now these pickups up higher are not actually in logic right now because they have double jump, but they don't. Oh no! I will finish my thought in a second, but that is a catastrophic death for Richard. He hasn't saved in ages, so he's going to have to walk a long way back. That is a lot of time lost right there. So to finish my thought, those pickups up above with no wall interaction were actually not in logic, and you saw Lake opt to leave, and he's now got wall interaction with wall jump, so he could go back and check those pickups now.
I believe he also doesn't have his second energy again. So he will have to go back for that pickup underwater again if he wants to get that second energy.
I can't tell on the restream if he has a second energy or not. Okay, it just refilled. He does have two, so he's still got that at least. So Richard is just now working his way back to make up the time that he lost from that death. We'll see what Lake does. The fact that he didn't Alt-R kind of indicates to me that he wants to go get the rest of those left side pickups and maybe check out the Spirit Caverns, which I think is a great decision. It's a pretty pickup dense area. There's a lot to grab there.
Yeah, I think as well, Lake not so confident with just using double jump to get up here, so now that he has wall jump, he can get these pickups incredibly easily.
Yeah, and it's got a few keystones, which is definitely nice, but it's not exactly what these runners are looking for. They'd obviously rather see one of the really big, sexy progression skills like Stomp or Bash or Charge Jump. But, you know...
If they do actually get one more keystone, they could opt to go straight into Grove. And if they do find a way to break blue walls or plants, they can continue all the way through and actually enter Swamp the intended way.
So if there are keystones here, that opens up a pretty interesting decision for Lake. He would have enough keystones to go through to Grove, but that costs 4 keystones. And they still haven't explored the Blackroot Burrows area at all, which has the potential to give them a way to get into Grove without having to spend these keystones. So they kind of have to weigh how badly do I want to keep these 4 keystones versus how badly do I just want to go into Grove right now.
Yeah, certainly. There are enough keystones in the seed in order for you to not need to... You know, there are enough keystones that you don't have to worry about them. Ever in the seed, there is enough to get all the way through the game without ever having to key dupe. But, you know, if you decide that you want to use them, then you can. Unfortunately, not getting a keystone, so is going to have to opt to go into Blackroot Burrows.
It's not a bad play. You have to come back here at some point. It'd be nice to do it with a little more in terms of skills, but there's a couple of nice things about coming over here. 1, you can just go ahead and check it off, and 2, you can continue down to what we refer to as the Raziel No area and place one of those map stones that he has. He's carrying 2 around, and generally when you have a bunch of map stones, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and try and place those as quickly as possible because it's very possible for progression to be on one of those, and if you can knock them out quickly, it's a really good feel when you get one of those really important progression skills quickly that way.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there are 9 total map stands in the game, and 5 of them are on the right-hand side of the map, so getting those done early can really help you in the late game, because obviously if there is something on a map stone, the last thing you want to do is struggle through an area, place in a map stone in, say, Sorrow, and then suddenly it's like, well, I've suddenly got the item that I would have quite happily got earlier on in the seed if you were able to put in all those map stones.
Now this is interesting. Looks like Richard is opting to bring the frog over here, and he's going to actually be doing a sequence break. His experience is very close to level up, and so what he's going to try and do is bring this frog over with him and get a level up off it to be able to put a total of 4 energy into the door, even though he's only got 2 available. And this is going to get him access to a pretty pickup dense area, but it is definitely out of logic. So this is a very strong power play out of Richard, and if it pays off, he's going to really regain a lot of that time that he lost from his death.
I find it really interesting when players are able to collect, not only just collect enough energy, but then also, you know, get the XP just perfect for a Frankie walk so they can do this. Because, I mean, certainly when I'm playing I've never got enough, I've never got my XP perfectly so that I can Frankie walk through here. I've usually got to use a Mega Energy or something.
Since your energy or experience pickups are random, it's pretty hard to try and plan one of these out, but when you notice that you've got the opportunity open, it's pretty heads-up play from Richard to take advantage of it here. What he may be thinking is, he's seen a total of 3 energy cells in this seed so far, 1 in the water, 1 that you start with, and 1 in Spirit Caverns. He may be just making a gamble and saying, I bet there's 1 more energy cell in Logic somewhere right now. Maybe Clean Water is around to get the one that's under the water. And he's saying the seed wants us to come through this door anyway, so I'm going to just skip hunting for it and get in there now. Finding a Mega Energy, which is pretty nice. If he can carry this around, there are a few useful 4 energy doors that he could spend some of this energy on as an early sequence break as well. So on the right-hand side, you can see Lake is finishing up the Blackroot Burrows area. This is kind of one of the reasons why people, if they can, like to delay going to Blackroot, because this is a pretty slow area with these skills. He really has, in the entire time he's been here, only checked, 2 pickups. But it does have to get done at some point, so it's not as bad as it seems. A little bit of a cool trick on the left-hand side here from Richard. He's using a Save Anywhere to glitch this cutscene of the bridge opening, and it's supposed to send you all the way down to the bottom of this area, but with that glitch, he's able to use it to keep himself up top, gets a map stone for it, and is going to check these pickups on Water Vein.
Yeah, it was nice to see that he also got the best pickup in the game, Warmth Return, just underwater. A little bit of a sauna down there.
Yeah, definitely tongue-in-cheek there. Warmth Return does literally nothing, unfortunately. We're seeing Lake is going to be continuing down to the Raziel No area. With his current skill set, only the first pickup in there is in Logic. Oh, wait.
Don't think he was supposed to reset that. I think he's just going to reload to get back into that area faster than walking back.
Yeah, I think that altar was a mistake, but he's going to glitch this little door open. As I said, in Logic, only the first pickup is available right now, but the vast majority of runners will use another instance of that Save Anywhere trick to check the others while he's in there as well.
A fun note, actually, is that Lake did skip the ability cell in BRB. I wonder if that's where he's heading back for now. It doesn't look like it. I think he might be heading over to the Grove area, because he has cleared out everything over here already.
I suspect that's probably where he's headed. He didn't find anything too useful there. Richard, on the other hand, over on the left-hand side here, is clearing out Grotto pretty well. This is a very pickup-dense area, so good chance that he'll probably find something soon. He did skip 2 pretty important pickups on the way. Right before this area, there is a mini-boss and a map stone. Now, the mini-boss is incredibly slow to check with his current skill set, but the map stone is pretty quick, so he's just kind of gambling that nothing important was there in exchange for not having to take the time to go down and get it.
Yeah. So, coming up on the double jump tree, I don't believe we're not going to get a clue yet. We've only seen 2 trees from each of the runners so far.
Now that said, there's a lot of value in just getting the trees out of the way so that you can get towards that clue, because if you know, for example, that Water Vein is in an area we have access to from that clue, you can really start to focus where you're digging for skills and then give yourself a chance to find both the key and those important skills at the same time. So, I don't hate this decision from Richard to bypass some pickups in exchange for getting himself towards that first clue more quickly.
Yeah, we also see Lake going for this XP. Unfortunately, it is always just 100 points, but I think he was just after the level up, maybe.
I suspect he was trying to refill his energy there more than anything. As you said, that's always 100 experience, and he recognized he was close to that level up.
He is making his way over to Charge Flame Tree as well, so he is going to get his first clue, I think, probably before Richard, because it is slightly faster, I think, than clearing BRB with the skills that Richard has.
Now, even though Lake has the ability points to skip this cutscene, he's opting to go ahead and watch it. It costs, in the area of 30-ish seconds, but it does mean that you don't lose the teleporter here. So he's taking the time loss now and hoping that he'll gain it back by being able to use that teleporter later on.
Yeah, certainly it's quite a gamble. You find a lot of people, in the seed, a lot of people do sort of, they gamble a lot. They decide if it's worth keeping or if it's worth skipping, and a lot of people will quite often just skip it, just hoping that they will find either Grove TP or another teleporter that is on the left-hand side of the map, just to cut down that travel time.
Do you tend to skip it or do you watch it?
I tend to almost always skip it, to be
I do the same as well, but it's definitely come back to bite me before.
Oh yeah, certainly. I've had seeds before where I've also forgotten Swamp TP, and the closest place that I have to the left side is actually just going into Grotto.
Now, Lake has gotten himself into a bit of a conundrum here. There's a pickup down and below the Sea Flame tree here, which he could have gone straight down to get and then used wall jump to get himself back up. But he went to the tree first, and with his current skill set, he's kind of blocked in there. So unfortunately, he had to Alt-R.
Does have the Grove DP, so it will be faster for him to get back there.
Now, the first clue that they had access to is for the Sunstone, which is the final key that we need. So a little bit unfortunate they didn't get the Water Vein clue. That's really the one you want to see first, but it's never bad to see a clue, especially when it's not the Gumon Seal, which is the least useful of the three. And it was a Sunstone clue in Grotto. Now, there's a lot of pickups in Grotto, especially for them right now. There's a bunch that they don't have access to due to not having the ability to break blue plants or blue walls right now. So they're going to be looking for either Grenade or Charge Jump to be able to break those, and then probably make a revisit to Grotto and find that Sunstone.
Yeah, there is one more pickup that I believe Lake can find over here before he will have to make his way. I believe that with double jump it is possible to do the Raziel No area, because I think you can make it over the boulder, but I'm not 100% sure. Someone can probably correct me on that. It is tricky though, and if there is anything down there, then... But at the same time, there are a couple of pickups that Lake has missed, so hopefully those pickups don't end up coming back to bite him for a bit.
Sure. So I'm trying to think of what all is available to them right now. Definitely, he can get to the stuff down in the Raziel No area. This keystone right here, or sorry, the AC is available. Just experience, so not too important. He could attempt to try and farm some experience to get through the Death Gauntlet door, similar to how Richard did earlier.
He did leave the XP hanging in the tree above the Charge Flame tree, and that is possible with just wall jump and double jump.
Now, I kind of like sort of the confidence that you can see Richard moving with. He's obviously very aware of what is available to him right now and where he wants to go. I'm interested to see if that continues, if he sort of finds himself in the same position that Lake is in. Now, the biggest advantage for Richard is he has access to Grotto and the Death Gauntlet, which means that he can go through there, and then instead of going down into Grotto, he could continue upwards into the swamp area, which means there's a lot of available pickups still left for him to check.
Yeah, obviously the game doesn't expect us to go in there yet, because obviously it does expect you to go up and around, but going on logic, I think the only pickup is actually the one above the Charge Flame tree that is actually in logic right now.
That's really unfortunate that Lake didn't get it while he was there. Interesting. It'll be interesting to find out if he just didn't think he was able to get it right now, or if he forgot that it's around, or maybe he just, alt-art a little bit earlier than he meant to.
I believe he did a map check just beforehand, so it may have been a case of he thinks he can't get to it with what he has right now.
Ooh, Charge Flame for Richard. That is a big find. There are a lot of plants in logic. So now he has a couple of interesting decisions to make. Particularly, does he want to revisit Grotto because there's a lot of plants down there, or does he want to try and go to a new area and full clear it while he's there? Particularly Swamp. You see Charge Flame pick up from Lake as well.
Straight after, about 5 seconds, 10 seconds behind. So Lake, even though he's and Water Vein under the boulder right there.
That's a huge find. I imagine that heavily incentivizes Richard to probably go towards Swamp now, because with wall jump and double jump, he can actually go up the Ginso tree right now and clear a ton of pickups. It's a fairly pickup dense area.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way Richard goes to Charge Flame tree, because he can get to it from the bottom, but at the same time, the way that you can get there is actually through Spirit Caverns, which I think is where he's going now. So he will be going over the top and getting that Grove. Maybe getting that Grove TP if he doesn't skip, and then being able to go into the Spider Sack area and around that loop and get all of the pickups.
And I like this decision for a couple of reasons. By doing this, he won't lock himself into the Charge Flame area because the frog will have broken the roof. So after getting the tree, he can then continue on through the Spider Sack and Spider Water area. make it over to where Kuro Cutscene is, and then maybe as sort of a roundabout way, get to Ginso that way.
Yeah, Lake getting these 3 pickups in Valley Entry. They are... The first one, right underneath the log, is really quick to get, but going the long way around for these pickups can be... It can take its time. It does find some health though, so that should hopefully... Oh, can't get the plant though, he ran out of energy.
As we saw from Richard, though, it's not critical progression, but of course Lake doesn't know that.
What was actually on it? I didn't quite check it.
I've already forgotten. I just, as soon as I saw that it wasn't important, it was out of my brain.
That's fine.
Looks like Lake is going to get some energy and come back around to check that. So he's going to be, unfortunately, quite disappointed when he sees that he's putting this much time into it in exchange for nothing important.
Yeah, Richard also just taking the time to get this teleporter used by watching the cutscene. So they will both have the same amount of teleporters, so that when they both need to come back to the left side, they can hopefully do it quite quickly.
That's unfortunate. Okay, so it is actually possible with just double jump, wall jump, and sea flame to get to this plant without having to go way around. Where he's standing right now, he can jump up and get on the left side of that tree and break it from the underside, but unfortunately doesn't look like he knows about that. So hopefully he can...
Small twig as well. Oh, it was just an ability, so I believe the small twig on the tree that he was on, he can land on that and use that to walk on as well.
Fortunately did manage to get it and is now continuing to the right. So I imagine they're both going to be pretty much following a similar trajectory here. Very critical difference, though. Lake does not have that water vein, it looks like. So even if he follows Richard here, Richard has the option to go into Ginso, which is a really, really important thing to be able to do because it's progression towards a tree and also is meaning Richard's going to have access to a lot of critical pickups that Lake doesn't. So, for example, if Bash was in there, if Charge Jump was in there, if Dash was in there, it would just really, really give a huge advantage to Richard.
Lake again not getting that XP in the tree, so I'm going to assume that he probably doesn't know that he can get it with just what he has right now.
Lake is doing a fairly good job of clearing these pickups out, though. So other than that one pickup that he either doesn't remember or doesn't think he can get to, he's clearing these areas fairly efficiently. So in some sense, that's actually almost a double-edged sword because in his brain, he may be saying to himself, I cleared out this area. Ooh, Gumon Seal find. Could potentially be important. Swamp TP and on the pickup there. So that's actually pretty important to have. It would really open up their mobility of where they have access to right now. Now, they can get to the swamp area right now anyway, but it might affect particularly Lake's decision making to have it. Richard, I think, has enough open to him, especially with Ginso, that he's probably not planning to really use that.
Another interesting thing is there was an energy cell in the spider sack area, so that does actually give Richard the ability to open those 4 energy doors that Lake currently cannot do. So the 4 energy door in the spider sack area currently cannot be opened by Lake, and well, an RNG pickup from the spider allows
That's
him to
fantastic.
open the door anyway.
Really excellent luck from Richard there. Even though he didn't actually get an important pickup from it, the fact that he was able to open the door is actually really big because now he doesn't have to come back here and check it if he's searching for something. So it's just a big load off his mind, as well as could save him a lot of potential future time by making him never have to come back here and revisit to check that door.
Yeah, with having the water vein already, and Sunstone being the only other required key that we do know is in Grotto now, he knows that he doesn't necessarily have to come back here with Grenade to check that 1 extra pickup. Whereas obviously, the game, when you get given the clues, it's completely random as to which clue you could find. So for all we know, on the 9th tree is when we could find the water vein clue, which for Lake could be really bad. And if he if he goes searching in Grove area again, and has like Grenade and stuff, then he will have to go back for those pickups, just in case they are the Sunstone, which it can't be obviously, but.
Yeah, so I mean, despite the fact that their trackers look pretty similar in terms of skills and they're not too far off in terms of trees, I would say there's sort of a larger invisible advantage for Richard right now than there appears in terms of just his knowledge of what pickups need to still be cleared, as well as where the keys are out there in the world.
Yep, and now Lake coming down, doing the entire, probably the entire left side of Grotto, I would assume, just because now that he can break plants, there's literally nothing putting this off, as well as having 4 energy. As long as he can find a place to replenish what he's using, then he can do the area the area a lot of people like to call sort of like the Grotto Vault at the very bottom. It does hold 2 pickups, and it does require you to open a 4 energy door to get down there.
Yeah, I mean, so that's yet another advantage that Richard has in this. And even more now, extra double jump. That's really, really nice. When you already have double jump and you find extra double jump, your day is made. Okay, Lack just found the advantage that he might potentially really want. He just found the Sunstone. And even though Richard has a clue as to where it is, the fact that it's already in Lake's possession could save him a ton of time later. Because there's a lot of area to check for where the Sunstone is, and Lake doesn't have to do any of it now.
That is true. However, the downside for Lake is that the pickup that was Sunstone is quite a direct pickup in terms of your path. So it may take Richard a little time to get there, but I don't imagine him taking too long to find that Sunstone.
Yeah, it's really just going to depend on what paths through that area he takes. And Richard had a little bit of an unfortunate circumstance arise. He didn't have the energy to check that bottom area, but quickly goes and gets himself a level up to refill. That's pretty heads-up play.
Yeah, if there's any abilities down here, this could be huge. It turns out that Lake has found a Mega Energy, so if he comes down here with that Mega Energy, then that could instantly be negated.
So Lake was attempting to figure out some ways to break that roof in the Death Gauntlet. Won't be able to do it with his current set of skills unless there's some trick that I'm not aware of. But he can continue onwards. There's still a pretty wide area of pickups available to him, particularly what's sort of referred to as the Swamp Loop has a decent number of pickups in it that he could go to right now.
I like what Rich is doing here, going back and saving now that he's done most of the puzzle, just so that he doesn't have to go back and like... Actually, no, he's just going back for the charge flame so that he can break the floor.
Good rando knowledge to know that charge flame breaks that ceiling. That's not always something that's necessarily immediately apparent to runners.
Yeah, it's one of the weakest floors. It's the weakest floor in the game. It can basically be broken pretty much by just looking at it.
So it looks like in terms of what the runners are sort of trying to accomplish right now, Lake appears to want to clear out Grotto, which not a bad decision. It's a pretty pickup dense area. He just wants to have it checked off in his mind. Richard, I'm not quite sure where he's going. I suspect he's probably going to head upwards from here and try to check out some of the swamp area. Maybe go into Horu after this.
I think you mean Ginso.
I'm sorry, Ginso. Yes. Definitely a bit early for Horu.
Yeah. A couple more skills are required for that dungeon, I think.
Not to mention the Sunstone. So our truck is pointing out something interesting. Stomp was on... not Stomp. Water Vein was on a pickup that requires Stomp or some out-of-logic sequence breaks to get open. And that means that something as critical as Water Vein is Stomp gated, which is generally a pretty strong hint from the logic that it wants you to be able to get Stomp within a reasonable length of time. Now, not always. Sometimes the seed gives you Water Vein behind Stomp and then also puts Stomp in a terrible place. So if that is what's happening here, you can see some really, really rough times on seeds. But what these runners are hoping for is that Stomp gated Water Vein is trying to indicate that Stomp is fairly easily accessible.
I believe as well that also where we found Water Vein, we do possibly either require a charge jump to get over the boulder or dash as well to outrun the boulder.
That is correct.
There are a couple of skills that the runners have, managed to skip over in order to get that Water Vein early.
So we're in one of two types of seeds, and we don't know which one it is yet. It's either a really great seed where those really nice skills like Stomp and Dash are accessible, or we're in a really, really terrible seed where those are just in absolutely horrible places, and the seed didn't expect you to get Water Vein until super, super late.
Now, I'm going to make an odd guess, because I did notice that we got Swamp TP from just above the Charge Flame Tree. I'm guessing that we are going to... I'm guessing we might find one of those answers in the swamp area.
I really feel like that's sort of the biggest question mark area right now in the run, and I'm a little surprised we haven't seen either runner go more extensively towards that area, particularly Richard, since he has the Water Vein. But he's just got a gut feeling that there's something in Grotto, and he really wants to clear this area out first.
There's only one pickup left for him, and that's the one that's probably everyone's worst one to collect. Is this one right at the back here behind all these walls. It's just it can be a really slow pickup to get. It's a lot nicer when you have dash. Unfortunately, just an ability cell though. Oh, God,
he's digging pretty hard for the Sunstone that he knows is in here. Lack was lucky enough to be able to find it later, and as I had mentioned earlier, that lucky find of Sunstone could be what Lack needs to get back into this race, because all this time that Richard is spending clearing out Grotto and not progressing towards the Bash Tree or up into Ginso, for example, this is all basically just free time gain that Lack is getting, because he doesn't have to do any of this deep search here.
Yeah, he's using some of that Mega Energy as well. Oh, he has managed to get enough energy actually to just do this in logic. I was under the impression he still had a Mega Energy. So yeah, Richard is going to head up now from Grotto, so hopefully he doesn't go over to the swamp entry down here, because that will take a bit of time extra for him to get his abilities that he needs. And the Sunstone that is just above him now, I believe.
I can't imagine he'll be skipping it. He's been so thorough that I imagine he'll probably go and grab it. Oh, interesting. Maybe after grabbing the Iceless pickups here, he'll come back.
I would imagine so, unless he's thinking that the answer isn't, unless he's thinking about doing the swamp loop just because he did.
Oh no, Richard. Oh no. Well, okay, so even though he may just be abandoning trying to find the Sunstone right now, the fact that he's cleared so much means that when he does eventually come back, there's a pretty small number of pickups that he will need to check on his revisit. So he may just be bailing on Grotto and the Sunstone and deciding to search for, skills and maybe go into the Ginso tree now.
Yeah, I mean, the Ginso tree is a fairly decent play, because now that you've cleared pretty much most of Grotto, if you're going on just pickup density, then Ginso is the next best place really, and with the skills we have, Bash can be in there, and Bash is obviously like probably the best skill for this game, apart from maybe Dash that some people would probably argue.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of finishing your seed, Bash is pretty much the unquestioned most important one, but in terms of going fast, Dash is really, really important, so I'm sure these runners would be happy to see either one.
Yeah, it's nice to see that Richard, remembering that he did find that swamp teleport, so I didn't have to push in the boulder, because when you have Dash, you can pull it out and then like dash through a small gap, but when you don't, you have to push the boulder all the way through, which takes I'll probably say about 10 seconds to do that.
Alright, Trek pointing out an important logic rule. Because Water Vein was Stomp gated, Stomp cannot be here in the Ginso tree. So Richard is hoping to find Dash or Bash or Charge Jump, but will not be able to find Stomp no matter what he checks in here.
I don't believe he can find Charge Jump in here either, because... Actually, no, he might be able to.
I believe that should still be on the table, because you could have you could have gotten into that Raziel No area just with Dash, for example.
Yeah.
So So you can see Lake is going to clear out the rest of Grotto here. And the fact that he knows that he's got the Sunstone already means that he can just really check this off his mental checklist and not have to worry about this area at all anymore. So it'll be a little interesting to see what he does after this. I would suspect maybe the Swamp Loop, because he's pretty much cleared out most of the other available stuff right now.
Yeah, he is also going to be catching back up in his tree count as well. They're now both on 4 trees, 5 if you include Sign, but who includes Sign, right?
Sure, sure. Now, if you'd asked me 15 minutes ago, I would have said Richard just like in a crushing lead right now, but the amount of time that he spent looking for Sunstone and the fact that he still doesn't have it has definitely brought this closer than it was before. Now, Lake does still need to find that water vein and still needs to do Ginso. So I would absolutely say Richard is still in the lead, but not by such a large amount that, you know, a comeback is inconceivable. Okay, so Richard has finished his way up to the Bash tree, and I don't believe has any way to progress further, so he's just going to have to Altar and work his way out. Actually, can he make this?
I believe with triple jump you can go a bit further, but it does require some rather precise charge flame redirects.
Be interesting to see if he is confident enough in these to try them. It looks like he's going to at least give them an attempt.
He does have efficient Valley teleport.
That's a huge find. Wow. One of the most important reasons that we're looking for Bash and Stomp is to get access to the left side of the map. That Valley teleporter bypasses it completely. Now, they can't do a ton in the left side with their current skill set, but just the fact that Richard knows he can get over there now is really big. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take that teleporter soon and just look around and see what he can find in there right now, because there is a decent number of pickups over there he has access to.
Yeah, and without Stomp, the Kuro kill plane isn't actually there yet. So the whole of the lower part of Valley, he could check out the 3 pickups at the bottom of Valley, and getting a really nice redirect and getting clean water actually.
Oh man, Richard is just getting paid off big time for these sequence breaks.
Lake finds Bash.
That's enormous.
In the swamp loop.
I don't even know what to talk about first, because just bam, 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 so many big pickups. Okay, let's start with Richard. Clean water opens up a decent number of pickups for him, especially here around the Glades area, and then once he gets to Stomp. But Lack having Bash, that blows so much of the world wide open. It's such a useful ability. He's going to be able to go so much faster. And really importantly, it's a much more comfortable way of traversing the world. So it just really increases your sense of confidence in moving around in the randomizer.
Yep. So there we go. There's our progression that we were expecting. Oh, and dash as well.
Oh,
that
my
puts
goodness.
Warfane into logic for him. So that allows, that's pretty huge.
Those 2 pickups were big enough finds that I honestly might be just willing to say that those are absolutely enormous. If he goes and finds Water Vein fairly quickly, he's in a fantastic position right now.
And Richard trying to get into Swamp this bottom round, which is kind of a little bit tricky because you do have to get quite a precise shot. I think he's leaving it actually for now.
Now, Lake is headed straight for where we know that Water Vein is. This is just, if he just psychically knows that this is where he needs to be, that is going to be super impressive. Great read on the seed. If the Frankie down there is dead, though, he still won't be able to. Ooh, Richard found the Sunstone. Okay, so his Sunstone search is complete. That's really, really good. And he's now coming into Swamp Loop. He's very likely to find Bash and Dash now. If Richard quickly gets those, he's definitely taken the lead back again.
The one thing that I will say is if there is more progression inside the top of Ginso, it's actually going to be a lot easier for Lake to get that progression, because he does have Bash. So everything that Richard has just done with Charge Flame redirects, Lake only has to do Bashes. And
yeah, so if Richard...
he can go further up the tree as well with what he has.
If Richard wanted to continue up Ginso, he would have to revisit and go through the whole section again, which costs quite a bit of time. So he'll definitely be incentivized not to do that. So he's gotten his dash.
He
It'll
got
be
his
interesting
dash. He didn't get his dash.
Sorry, he got
Oh,
bash.
he's going back for it, I think.
He's,
no, he's
not going to
taking
go
the
for
actual
dash
swamp
right now,
tree.
though. He just wants to get into the swamp tree. Now, obviously, from our position where we know where dash is, this seems like a really costly play. But to be honest, in Richard's shoes, I don't disagree with this decision because he's just, that's really unfortunate. So anyway, to finish my thought, he knows there's a tree over here. He knows he can get to it, and he has all of his dungeon keys. So honestly, I think Richard is making the right play. It's just unfortunately not going to work out for him unless he goes back there pretty soon to get dash.
Yeah, I mean, if he decides to revisit that area, that'll be nice for him. But now that he's got both keys, now that he has both of the dungeon keys, my question is he going to come back here, or is he just possibly just going to start rushing trees now that he found bash?
It would obviously, of course, be nice for him to find dash, but one of the most interesting things about clues in particular is that because the rushing trees is so powerful, both in terms of finishing the seed and in terms of the information it gives you, Richard could definitely still win the seed without dash, just because he seems to be making much more dedicated moves towards just getting to trees. For example, this move he's making right now. So there's a really big question mark on Lake's run right now, and it's whether or not the Frankie down in BRB, where the water vein is still alive. If it is alive, he's kind of okay because he can use that Frankie to break the rocks and get water vein. If that Frankie is dead, he's in pretty big trouble because he has to find Stomp to be able to get water vein, and we have no idea where Swamp is right now, and there's a lot of places it could be.
As much as it is a one-off pickup, I am wondering if the reason he's not going back there is because he did kill the frog. So he is just going, I will wait until I find Stomp to get that. Or, I mean, it is possible to get that with climb and charge jump. But obviously, like, Stomp is just, you know, you're finding one skill is always better than just having to look for two.
Absolutely. So Richard, I guess at this point, he's probably looking for Stomp. I wonder if he forgot that he has the Valley Teleporter, because with his current set of skills and having all of the dungeon keys, I feel like a really strong play here would be to just go left side and start trying to progress those trees as much as possible.
Yeah, certainly. I was about to say, I wonder if Lake is going to now go into Ginso Tree, now that he has obviously Dash and Bash.
Well, he doesn't have the water vein yet, so he can't go into Ginso yet right now,
sorry.
unfortunately.
Yeah. I completely forgot about that one point.
That's the difficulty with Randomizer. There's so many things to keep in your head at all times. Okay, so 518 experience down here. When you see experience numbers that high, sometimes it can be a good indication from the logic that it doesn't really expect you to be here, because that means that it's thinking you're not going to get down here until super late in the game. So Richard just decides to go ahead and head out of there. Well, it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. I want to see him go to the left side right now and just have confidence in his ability to progress with the skills he has right now.
Lake also doing his Valley entry by getting this frog in. Oh, please don't bash it one more time.
Okay, so Richard's going to Swamp right now. Is he planning a Ginso revisit, possibly?
I wonder if that is maybe what he's thinking. Or just going back into Grove.
Looks like he's heading back to the Grove area. Okay, so there's still a decent number of pickups over here you can check. Lake has finished his Swamp entry, so he's in now. Very nice. He'll be able to get access to that Stomp tree, get himself one tree closer to the end. Okay, Richard looks like he wants to dip into Horu Fields to clear a few things out. Now, without Stomp, a lot of this is not in logic, I don't believe, although you can get around it with Bash pretty well. Okay, good heads-up play knowing about using the Baneling here. Finds the Grove Teleporter, which Lake did find earlier, so we did already know that that wasn't going to be, Stomp or any other critical progression.
With Bash, though, I believe Richard is probably confident in getting the 2 pickups in this, like, Spider Lake area, as well as the pickup underneath, because he does have clean water.
This is such an interesting race because I would have thought for sure, based on the beginning, that Richard would just be way, way ahead. But they both are just missing like 1 or 2 critical pieces before they feel comfortable continuing onwards. And it's just going to depend on who manages to find access to those things first and decides that they're in go mode and can just rush to the end.
Yeah, certainly. Trying to think back on where we could have possibly missed. I mean, there is obviously still the very top of Ginso that could hold stuff now, because obviously now that we do have Bash, and I believe Bash would have probably been, well, Bash is probably in sequence before getting to Ginso Tree. The top of Ginso Tree could hold something for both of these players.
It could hold something, but it can't hold Stomp because Water Vein was Stomp gated, and I feel like Stomp is probably the thing that they want the most right now. I really am starting to feel like, based on this play, that Richard just forgot that he got the Valley TP, because there's just so much on the left side he has access to right now.
It does look like he's heading towards the dash location, though.
Oh, this will be fantastic.
So he'll probably be really happy with himself that he's made it over here.
Now, once he finds it, he will, of course, be happy to see it. But the fact that this pickup was in Logic pretty early, I wonder what's going through Richard's head. Is he happy to see it, or is he panicking because he's like, oh no, Lake found this 20 minutes ago. I'm definitely way behind now. And it'll be interesting to see if that starts to play on his nerves, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Dash is one of those skills where you can either find it early and then you could feel super ahead, or at the same time it's like, if it's somewhere in the general path of, like, you know, just you're going to look for, if you're going to just look for things, finding Dash, you might sit there and just think, oh no, what if my opponent found that first? And even though you found Dash really early, you still feel like you're far behind.
Okay, so Richard looks like he's really just gonna make sure he digs for Stomp. They don't have Feather yet either. That actually could be one of the things that's on his mind.
Oh, he's going to Valley, I believe.
Okay, interesting. Very, very good. I'm starting to think maybe not just Dash, but actually, like I said, Feather might be what's on his mind, because a lot of left side is pretty difficult, if not impossible, when you don't have Feather. So he maybe just wants to find that first.
Doing some nice rocket jumps just to get up that one area really quickly.
Okay, so Lake, he's got some pretty tough decisions to make here right now. Without having that Water Vein, he really just doesn't have that many other areas to check right now. So there's got to be some little one-off somewhere that Stomp is hiding in, and neither of these players have found it yet. So I know he's got to be starting to feel a little bit of pressure, thinking, okay, I either have to find Stomp soon, or I have to find some way to get around not having it, because the time is just ticking away here.
I was about to say Dash is one of those really bad one-offs that you really kind of hate checking without just having like charge jump, but is heading over there, so hopefully this does have Stomp.
I don't believe it can, because you need Feather or Charge Jump or Bash and Grenade to be able to get up to it in Logic, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you can do it with just double jump and dash.
Can you?
Because you can use double jump, air dash, and then you can just get to the wall, I believe.
Well, air dash is actually not considered in Logic. It assumes you just have dashes, so I don't believe he'd be able to get it with that. But somebody who's more of an expert in the Logic than myself could give a for sure correct answer on that.
Yeah, checking his map, I believe, just to sort of try and work out what he's skipped.
Oh, cool play from Richard here. He knows he can't break this floor on his own, so he's going to try and use the the frog here to break it open. I've never actually seen that before. I'm not 100% sure it works. I hope it does, because that's awesome.
It does work. I actually managed to pull that off in my race yesterday. Unfortunately, he ended up bashing the bird into the shot.
All right, so he goes and clears out these enemies first to make it a little bit easier for himself. Very nice. Yeah. All right, so what is Lake's play here? There's just not much left that he can look at, and I'm starting to get really confused myself as to where the heck he should be going. The fact that he has gone this long without going back down to the Raziel No area makes me think that he either killed the Frankie or believes that he killed it, so he doesn't want to go back there until he finds Stomp.
Yeah. There is the water XP in Swamp. I believe that is possible with just 2 damage boosts, which is what the logic path that we do play on is standard, and that does allow for 2 damage boosts.
That seems like a pretty good one to go to. I'm not sure about this play. I don't believe this Forlorn area is in logic with their current set of skills, but I could be wrong. Richard, on the other hand, he seems to be in a really great position right now. The one thing that's really gating him currently is he doesn't have Feather, so Sorrow is going to be a pretty big obstacle. Now, that said, with Dash and Bash, he can get around it pretty well if he's confident in the tricks needed to do it. So he might still go for it and try and get in with, Sorrow Bash, and then work his way up with using some like rocket jumps and things like that to make his way up to the charge jump tree.
Yeah, it's interesting to see when people go to Sorrow Pass, because there are a lot of ways of doing. Oh, and there's Stomp.
You can see him wiggling up and down there. He's really excited to have found that.
One of the worst places possible. I think the best play for Lake now is if he goes straight back to BRB, he will find his water vein that will lead him into Ginzo.
That's just absolutely awful to put Stomp there. I mean, that's really, really cruel, and it punished Lake so hard to have accidentally killed his Frankie in there, because I mean, just look at how much time he spent looking for Stomp. If he'd known about using the frog to break that rock, or had kept it alive, just none of this would have had to happen.
Alive, so he could have done it, I believe. No, okay.
Oh, sorry, that's Richard's. Yeah, that's Richard's screen there.
I was about to say, the one thing about finding Stomp is if Richard can't get like the Frankie over, then he may have to go looking for something in order to get himself into the grenade tree area. Unfortunately, he does know how to do this lure for the frog, so we'll be able to get into the grenade tree without having to find that Stomp.
He's through the most dangerous part of it. The spikes that he's already been past are the most likely ways for that Frankie to die, so if he finishes off this last little bit here, he should be into light grenade nice and cleanly. Great play from Richard here. This sequence break is one that not everyone knows about or is capable of executing, so pretty big time save for him there, just saying, I don't need to find Stomp. I have the ability to finish the trees that I still need to get to with my current skill set.
I believe he still does need to go to charge jump tree, doesn't he?
Yes, so we'll see if he's comfortable with doing the charge jump tree with his current skill set, or if he's going to do some digging for Feather. Given the fact that he is bypassing a decent number of pickups and just seems to be kind of going for trees right now, I feel like he's probably just going to try and go straight there, knowing that he's got everything he needs.
Yeah, I probably think that Lake is probably in the same position. Still doesn't have that water vein, but I do think he's probably now in let's just tree rush mode so I can see where water vein is, so that instead of having to just search everywhere, he can sit there and go, okay, it's in Blackroot, and then he'll be able to know he'll probably know instantly where he can check and just go, okay, there's water vein, and then he can go straight to his bash tree.
Well, in a weird way, I actually hope he does not find Grenade, because if he does find Grenade and it says BRB, that opens up some of the deeper BRB pickups for where it could be, so he might panic and think it's down, like, way further down. But if he doesn't have it and it says Blackroot, then it probably will pretty quickly know where it's supposed to be.
Actually, another interesting thing is, unless he gets the clue, he might not see that until... He might not even find that clue, because he'll have to get the light grenade tree before he gets before he'll get to Bash tree.
So interesting decision by Lake here. The only thing I can think is he must be digging for Glide, and he doesn't feel comfortable with Zara without it. Grenade for Richard. Definitely nice to have, particularly in the context of having Bash Grenade, but I don't think it changes much about what his strategy is right now.
I mean, finding it there is probably like one of the best places, because being able to just bash yourself up vertically and to get through this area means that you have to take a little bit less extra damage, and you can see he makes it through first try. Rather
Very
than
nicely done.
Yeah, because like if he hadn't done that, then he would have had to have taken at least 1 damage boost getting across to the like elbow in that section.
That is true. I hadn't really considered that. So yeah, that grenade was actually pretty nice to have. Okay, so Richard has all 10 of his trees. He has all of his dungeon keys. He has what appears to be skills that he's comfortable finishing the game with. So at this point, he's very much in the driver's seat. He's going to the end. He's going to the teleporter to get to Horu. So barring something pretty catastrophic, we should be seeing Richard take the win here.
Yeah, and Lake going straight down to the light grenade tree, not picking up the pickup next to the teleporter that we know is Wall Vein, obviously, but he has no way of knowing that.
But, you know, even though he doesn't necessarily know where the water vein is, still making forward progress, which I like. He's just going to go ahead and head towards trees because he's going to have to get this at some point anyway. So this gives him a little bit of time to maybe think about what pickups are still available. Can start to hope he finds something useful like Feather, maybe Charge Jump on the way, things like that.
Yeah, he does have the clue for Water Vein now, so he does know that that is in Blackroot. And Richard now coming into Door Warp. Let's go for the first try on the 11th attempt. Nah,
there we go. He's got it. Very nice. Deciding to check the validation orb. That's an interesting decision.
Gets a map stone. He can go and put that in at the top of forward.
Please don't.
Hey,
okay, here we go. Lake is here at the pickup, and you know, as soon as he saw that, his heart had to sink a little bit because he has to have known I was right here so many times so long ago, and unfortunately didn't find it until just now. But he knows what to do as soon as he gets it. He's going to head straight up for that Bash tree, and then he'll be able to go and finish off his other 2 trees as well. I imagine he's probably comfortable with the skill set that he has, maybe barring wanting Feather first.
Yeah, I mean... Oh... Richard... Yes, okay. I was about to say, he doesn't... hopefully he knows that he can charge flame the floors as well. Oh,
ooh, it takes an unfortunate death there. Now, one big advantage is Richard does have clean water, which came from very high up in the Ginso tree. So unless Lake decides to continue up the tree, which I would be quite surprised to see, he will not have clean water, which will make his swim and the end of the escape a little bit more difficult. He has a pretty decent amount of health, though, so hopefully won't come into play, especially with their skill set they have allowing for damageless traversal of the final escape here, but it could potentially be a factor.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine him going up. I know a lot of people, they do check that one bit of XP right next to the Bash tree, just because I've, like, there have been many seeds, I believe, where just, like, that pickup has been something and people have just got Bash tree and then just ulted, and it's like, that pickup is just that one thing that could have been, like, just not necessarily something to make you sort of, like, go mode, but it's that one pickup that, you know, you would have been sat there going, it would have been nice to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Richard took another death right towards the end of the escape there. You know, when you can see both races, it's easy to say, oh, yeah, Richard has a bag. But obviously, Richard has no idea where he's at relative to Lake.
His
And
opponent.
given how long he searched for Stomp, how long he searched for Bash and Dash, how long he searched for the Sunstone, I would not be surprised at all if Richard is like frantically looking at the SRC chat, just assuming that Lake is about to dot done at any second now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Lake coming up towards the end of his journey to the Bash Tree here. We'll see if he continues up and gets lucky enough to find clean water. I imagine he will probably just Alt-R here and try to head to the left side of the map.
Yep, and Richard doing fish strats. There we go. GG.
All right, and GG to Richard. He just has to hold right now. He'll be finishing right around 1 hour flat mark, which for a seed where Stomp was as difficult to find as this, 1 hour is a very respectable time. So great job to Richard.
Lake did actually head
win.
up. He is going to get his clean water, I believe, if he continues.
Interesting.
Yep,
You know,
there he
okay,
goes.
now that I think about it, the Valley TP was here as well with his... Oh, no, okay, what... Lake does have Stomp, so he did have the ability to get left side. I was thinking he still didn't have Stomp and might not have had a way to get over there until just now. But he's actually taking the time to go ahead and clear all this out. So he's got to be looking for Glide, I imagine. The other skills besides Glide are nice to have, but I don't feel like they would be worth this deep of a dig when you're this close to the end of the seed here.
It's an interesting question, actually, because this is something that I personally do, is like, I do quite often, I dig up until the second mini-boss if I am looking for things. It's like, do you have that same mindset as well? If you're looking for any skills, do you think that it's worth coming up here to just grab those extra like 5-6 pickups?
I definitely try to make a call as I'm at the Bash Tree. There's a lot of pickups in the second half of Ginso here, so if there's something really crucial I'm still looking for, and it's something that like I cannot finish the seed without, then I do like to come up here. But if I've got, you know, something that I am able to finish with, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable with it, I would rather just keep going and, you know, struggle through something a little bit harder. So it's definitely not something you can always make a flat rule about, I don't think.
Yeah. So Richard finishing with a time of 59.54.
Great work to Richard there. I'm sure he'll be quite happy to take the win there. So the real question here is, where is Glide? Now, doing Sorrow without Glide is pretty darn difficult, so I can't blame Lake at all for wanting to find it, especially without the Sorrow teleporter. Having the Sorrow TP makes Glideless considerably easier because you can come from above. So we'll have to see how long Lake spends digging for Glide before he decides that he just wants to maybe try and do it with what he has available right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Lake Alt-Rs just before finishing the Ginso escape and just skipping that cutscene, as he already has done his Stomp Tree, I believe.
He has, yes. Although he does have clean water, which means all the pickups in Swamp down under the water are open for business now. So I guess it's potentially possible that he's going to just finish and then use that as a way to get himself into Swamp and go check that whole swim section.
That is a good point as well.
And in the meantime, we get to enjoy the really awesome Ginso escape music. Nothing wrong with that. Now that's really trolly. The one experience pickup from finishing off the Ginso escape. Oh, randomizer seed, you have no mercy.
Being randoed in the best possible way, finishing the escape and being rewarded with the 1 XP.
All right, so now we get to see what Lake is going to decide to do now that he's here. Looks like he's going to take advantage of the fact that he now has Stomp and Clean Water to try and finish off some of these pickups here. I'm really hoping that Glide is like right here under the water and he can get a reprieve from this.
Either I'm remembering a different seed, or I remember Richard possibly checking a couple of these.
Oh,
And
you're
just
right.
he
He
just
sure did.
death warped to the top again, so that he didn't have to swim back out.
That's so unfortunate. All right, looks like we're going to go ahead and move Richard in here and interview him about how he felt like this seed went. Congratulations, Richard. Very big GG on your win.
All right, I have one question for you guys. Where was
Where was Stomp? We'll let you have some fun with that one. It was in Horror Fields.
Oh my god.
It was the AC that's under the log that you break by dropping the rock on it.
Oh
yep,
jeez.
It was the last possible pickup in Horror Fields.
It was pretty awful.
Well then, yeah, because I was like, I should probably find Stomp here because the water vein. Like, I knew it wasn't in Ginso because the water vein was locked by Stomp, and I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go here.
Well, you're not alone. Like me and Gecko and everyone in the truck were just kind of sitting here typing and talking like, where the heck is Stomp? Because, I mean, like you said, we got kind of fooled by the water vein being right there, because that kind of indicates, okay, the seed wants us to get Stomp so we can get this water vein. But no, this seed was just really, really mean.
Ruthless. The seed was ruthless. It was like, hey, we noticed we put this first key to the first dungeon right behind something that you would expect to find early. Nah, we'll make you suffer for a little bit first.
So my question for you, Rich, is there was an extended sort of exploration period where you were looking around on the right side, and well, Sunstone, yes, but also
Dash.
you had the Valley TP already. Were you consciously staying right side, or did you just forget that you had Valley TP to go?
I did forget it until at one point I was at a teleporter and I was like, wait a second, I got Valley TP. I should probably use this thing to go to the left side and finish the game.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely what I was curious about.
Yeah.
I mean, it still worked out for you. I guess the other question that came to mind is, when you found Dash, were you happy or were you panicking because, like, oh, this pickup is so early in Logic and I only just now got it?
I definitely thought that Lack probably would have gotten it a lot earlier than I did. I was sweating as I was doing the last half of the game. I'm like, it's getting closer to an hour. Like, I know Lack is like capable of probably doing the seed faster than I did it. Just like the fact that I got a lot of skills a lot later than I would have wanted to, but yeah.
Yeah,
no, it still worked out.
I believe there's about a 10-minute difference between you finding Dash and Lake, because he found Bash and then instantly just continued right around Ginso, and then found the Dash pickup. But because he didn't find the water vein, like you had already cleared like most of Ginso, so once you picked up Dash, it was like he put off Ginso for quite a while, because I think it was just, well, he put off Ginso mainly because he didn't have water vein, which was stomp locked. And it was just like, he was just trying to clear as much of the map as he could, so that, I believe he was just trying to find as much on the map as he could, so that he could, I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say, but it's not working.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I tried to go through Horu Field, or I didn't think of Horu Field, so I was like, alright, I'm out of options. I'm gonna go into Ginso, even though I don't have anything to go above. Like, you saw me doing like Sea Flame redirects and all this like shenanigans and at the top of Ginso. I was like, I don't know where I'm
pretty good.
to...
I wouldn't have been confident in doing that. So back to the race for a second. Lake did get the climb tree, and it looked like he was considering doing the back half for a minute, but decided to alt-R out. That wasn't in Logic without Glide. I think he was probably considering going on and hoping it was in there, but then realized, no, there's no way Glide isn't here. You would require Glide to get here in the first place. So the question is, where is it? Let's see. So just how bad could this be? I have seen seeds before where Glide is as bad as R4 or the bottom lava section of Horu. Is that even open right now?
I don't believe it can be down there, but there is one place that I do believe that it could be, and I think that would be the right side of Lower Black Roots.
So let me think here. So Grenade is required to check
Okay,
a lot of
Arrow
that
is in
stuff
Logic.
down there, and Grenade is in Sorrow, which would require Feather to get in there. So I don't think it can be
It can be
too
behind
badly
the
down there.
lasers, at least.
That is
Which
true.
I have had happen before, so that is kind of painful. But yeah, not deep into Lost Grove or anything like that.
All right, well, it looks like we're going to get a little bit of a tour of the Blind Forest because Lake has definitely made it pretty clear that he is not going to go to Sorrow until he has Glide. So we're going to get to see him kind of work his way through just all these really awful one-off pickups on the way.
I mean, one of the things he could be looking for that would be an alternative to Glide is if he just straight up finds Sorrow TP. Because
Sorrow
with
TP
that,
would...
it is quite easy to do Sorrow once you've found that teleporter.
That would help quite a bit. Now, he may also be concerned about his ability to do the final escape without Feather, so that he might also be looking for it for that reason. I'm not familiar enough with Lake as a rando runner to know just what set of skills he's comfortable with working with towards the end of the game.
I think he is comfortable with it because I know he's perfectly comfortable finishing the game without dash. So I would assume that he's with Bash. I would assume he's probably happy to finish the game without Glide. It's just a case of getting to that last skill tree.
Absolutely. Hopefully he can find that Sorrow TP then.
Did I
Feather.
just see a Forlorn teleporter?
That looks like where he's headed. All right, very cool. Forlorn's one of those areas that everyone who's watching a rando loves to see, everyone who's playing a rando hates to see, because if you've come here, you are truly desperate. That's all there really is to it.
And I do believe that Feather can at least be in Lower Valley. It can be in Lower Valley, I believe, now with Stomp. I'm not 100% sure if it can be in Forlorn itself.
Looks like Lake may be considering a forfeit. He's typing in the SRL and stopped. He's asking about potentially forfeiting. I would like to see him finish it out, but it would be completely understandable at this point if he decides not to.
I mean, he has been trolled pretty badly by Stomp. It would be pretty tragic if he is trolled again by another pickup.
Yeah, this is just such an unfortunate seed, and Lake has gone ahead and dot for, so this race will be over. GG to both runners. Very impressive to have navigated this really, really labyrinthine seed. Congratulations to Richard for winning, and it was a very enjoyable race to watch.
Thank you.
Looks like we might be bringing Lake in here if he wants to interview. Very nice. So we'll get him in here in just a minute. We can start to ask him about what his thought process was like as he was going through this absolute meat grinder of a seed. Looks like we are joined now by Lake. Congratulations on getting as far as you did in incredibly difficult seed. I mean, even with the advantage we had of being able to see both streams, us and the truck, we were just so lost on where some of that progression was. Is Lake here?
He is.
It's definitely very difficult, you know, with me being pretty new to rando. Lake's probably also pretty new. Like, you know, he's just stumped because those are just locations that you don't often think to check. Like, those aren't where you go in routes of this actual speed run.
In particular, Stomp being it where it was. I mean, there is, of course, using the Frankie to break open that rock to get the water vein, but that's out of logic. And if you're unfortunate enough to have killed the Frankie, this seed just really, really was terrible. I'll be really interested to see where Glide was. I hope somebody continues along with the seed and finds it, because it's just going to be really hilarious as to where it ended up being. Looks like Lake is having some connection issues, so hopefully we can get him in here in a few minutes. So Richard, while we've still got you here, just a general impression of this seed overall. What were your thoughts as it developed, beginning, middle, and end?
The beginning, it started off fine. I got double jump pretty early, so I was pretty happy about that. But then there was just this giant question mark in the middle as I was trying to figure out where Stomp was. And then once I got Dash, I kind of just gave up on that dream and decided to finish it out. But it was definitely like a sigh of relief when I got the Water Vein and the Sunstone, but it was definitely worrying knowing that my opponent could have found some skills earlier than I did.
Yeah, and we were actually quite concerned for you. Lake just stumbled across the Sunstone like very quickly, and you were spending a lot of time looking for it, and we were starting to wonder if that time loss would mount up enough to cost you the run.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of going back down into Grotto. You saw me go to the mini boss, and then the left Grotto double jump, like XP all the way to the left side. When I saw that was like 6 XP or whatever, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, what am I missing?
Okay, looks like we maybe have Lake back. Lake, can you hear
hello.
us? There we go. Well, our deepest sympathies for this seed, and GG for toughing out as much as you did. That was a very difficult seed, and I thought you honestly navigated it quite well.
Well, to be honest, that's the first rando ever that I forfeit. Like,
yeah,
I never retreat one. That's the first one in my life.
I can understand with this one. I mean, the search for Stomp and then Water Vein was just brutal. So, I mean, obviously, I think it's safe to say that this race really came down to Water Vein. So I have to ask, like, did you? I don't remember seeing. Did you kill the Frankie down there and weren't able to go back and get him to stomp the rocks, or were you just not aware of being able to do that, or what was your thought process there?
To be honest, I just kinda forget about it.
That's honestly, it's so understandable, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to
Sorry,
say,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I think when you went back with Stomp, you actually noticed that the frog was there, so I think it might have just been a case of you might have just forgotten about that pickup altogether, which is really unlucky that just happened to be Water Vein.
Yeah.
Well, there's really no shame in it whatsoever. Even the absolute best of rando players will just, forget about a pickup every once in a while. So as I said before, honestly thought you played quite well. You made a good showing for yourself. So congratulations to you. Gecko, do you have any questions for Lake?
I don't think so. It was really nice just watching the fact that even though the seed was just like everywhere you went, it was just like this pickup could be something, but it's not. It was just like to sit there and tough it out and be like, I will exhaust everything, and then finally making that play down into Horrid Fields. It was like, I mean, what was were you thinking, okay, this is in logic, or was it just a case of you're like, I can probably get to these pickups even though they suck?
To be honest, I was following the logic first, but at one point I said myself, everything to take is good. So.
Yeah, I completely understand that. All right, so again, congratulations to both of you. We are going to go ahead and start closing out. We're going to send you guys over to Speed Gaming 3. There is another randomizer Ori race going on. This one's going to be a doubles race, actually. And it's between two pretty cool teams. We have on one hand Fantagen, which is Fant and Bulligen, two very experienced runners, and the Slurp Squad, which is, I believe, Galaxy and Moose SR. Is that correct?
It is, yes.
Excellent. Okay. I looked like I knew what I was doing almost. All right. So thank you so much for watching, guys. And everybody go hang out at Speed Gaming 3 and watch that race for some more Ori Randomizer action. Gecko, thank you so much for commentating with me.
Thanks
I hope you guys have a great day.